Sophie handed me her phone at our welcome home dinner. The text said, "Can't wait for Jim to leave again." 3 weeks home, 547 days deployed. Sophie made my favorite dinner, yam pot roast, the way my mom used to make it. Carrots soft enough to cut with a fork. The house smelled like home, like safety, like everything I'd been fighting for. I was unpacking my deployment duffel bag while we ate. The thing's olive drab canvas, military issue, worn at the handles where I've gripped it 1,000 times. Still smelled like the Middle East, that combination of desert dust and canvas that never quite washes out. My name tape was stitched on the side in black thread. LTC J. Carter. Rachel was talking about the neighborhood Thanksgiving potluck. Jake was away at NC State, but he'd be home next week. Sophie kept watching me unpack, this look on her face I couldn't read. "Dad, did you keep all my letters?" she asked. I pulled them out. 47 envelopes, rubber banded together, each one a different color. Some had crayon drawings on them, little stick figures holding hands, American flags, hearts. I'd kept every single one in the bottom of my duffel, wrapped in a plastic bag to keep the sand out. "Every week for 18 months, I said. "One every—" Sophie's hand started shaking. She was holding her fork, and it just started trembling. Then she pushed her mother's phone across the table toward me. The screen was still lit up. I read it out loud, voice hollow. "Can't wait for Jim to leave again. Miss you, Kay." The fork clattered from Rachel's hand. Time stopped. The pot roast smell turned sour in my nose. I looked at the phone. Rose case, cracked screen, Rachel's phone, no question. Then I looked at my wife. "Who is Kay?" Rachel's mouth opened, closed. Her hand went to her wrist, fidgeting with this rose gold bracelet she wore. I heard the little cross charm jingling against the links. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "Daddy, who is Kay?" I said it again, quieter this time. The way you talk when you already know the answer, but you need to hear them say it. Rachel grabbed for the phone. That's not. But Sophie pulled it back. She was crying now, really crying. These gut-wrenching sobs that made her whole body shake. "I'm sorry," Sophie whispered. "I'm so sorry, Daddy. I didn't want to tell you while you were over there. What if you got distracted? What if something happened to you because I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. Military training kicked in. That cold, analytical mode where you process information like it's an after-action report. Threat assessment, evidence gathering, next steps. "Sophie," I said, "come with me." She took me to her room, closed the door. Her hands were still shaking when she pulled out her sketchbook. This brown, leather-bound thing, 9 by 12 inches, charcoal smudges on all the edges. She'd been drawing since she was 6. The leather smelled old, like the books in my father's study. "I need to show you something," she said. She flipped through the pages, drawings of our house, drawings of Rachel. Then, a man I didn't know, medium build, maybe late 30s, sitting at our kitchen table. Sophie had dated it, 4 months into my deployment. "Who was that?" "Kyle Brennan," she said, voice tiny. "He works on base, IT contractor. He's been coming here, a lot." She turned more pages, more drawings. Kyle and Rachel in the driveway. Kyle's truck, she'd drawn the license plate number at the bottom. Then pages that were just angry red scribbles, like she'd taken the charcoal and scraped it across the paper in rage. "Baby," I said, "how long have you known?" "Since month 4. I followed her one day when she said she was going to the grocery store. She went to the Riverside Inn instead. I saw them in the parking lot, kissing. Month 4? I'd been in the middle of, no, not now, focus. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were in combat, Dad," her voice cracked. "Because every time we FaceTimed, you looked so tired. Because I couldn't. What if you were thinking about Mom instead of staying safe? What if I told you and you got hurt because you were distracted? I couldn't risk it. I couldn't." I pulled her into a hug. She was 15 years old, and she'd been carrying this for months, protecting me while I was 7,000 miles away. "You were trying to protect me," I said. "Yes." "Sophie, that's not your job. That's my job, protecting you." She pulled back, wiped her face. "There's more, Dad. I found something else." She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a white plastic card on a blue lanyard, a contractor ID badge, photo of a man, late 30s, brown hair, smug smile. The name read, Brennan, Kyle, Meridian, It's Security. I found it in Mom's car, Sophie said. In the glove compartment. I was looking for the insurance card after I got that tiny scratch in the parking lot, and this was just there. I held the badge. It was the kind with a barcode on the back for scanning into secure areas on base. Standard contractor issue. I knew exactly what the security logs would show if I pulled them. Times, dates, access points. My daughter had been collecting evidence, like a tiny detective, while I was deployed. Sophie opened her desk drawer again. Dad, there's more. I found something in Mom's bathroom 2 weeks ago. A pregnancy test box, drugstore brand, pink and white cardboard packaging. The receipt was still tucked inside, dated 14 days ago. I did the math. I'm a battalion commander. I'm good at calculations, mission timelines, logistics, numbers. 14 weeks pregnant. I'd been home 3 weeks. I'd been deployed before that, for 18 months. The numbers didn't work. They didn't work at all. I sat on Sophie's bed. The pregnancy test box felt light in my hands, but it weighed like lead in my chest. Cardboard texture, corners bent from being shoved in a bathroom drawer, that pink color too bright for what it meant. Sophie, I said, does your mother know you have this? No, I put it back. But Dad, the math. I know, baby, I know. She sat next to me. What are you going to do? What was I going to do? I'd commanded 400 soldiers. I'd made decisions under fire. I'd written letters to families of men who didn't come home. But sitting in my daughter's bedroom, holding a pregnancy test that proved my wife had been with another man while I was in combat, I didn't have an answer. I need to talk to your mother, I said. If you've ever had your entire reality rewritten in a single moment, the moment when numbers prove what your heart refuses to accept, just type moment in the comments. You're not alone in that feeling. It was after midnight when I found Rachel in the kitchen. She was standing by the sink, gripping the counter like she might fall through the floor. Sit down, I said. Jim, I can explain. Sit down. She sat. I stayed standing. Put the pregnancy test box on the table between us. Then the FRG meeting roster. I'd pulled it from my office earlier. Stack of sign-in sheets, coffee-stained, dates going back 18 months. You missed 80% of the family readiness group meetings you were supposed to lead, I said. The meetings you told me you were attending. The ones where you were supposed to be supporting the other spouses while we were all deployed. Rachel's eyes flicked to the roster, then away. And this. I tapped the pregnancy test box. How far along? Silence. Rachel, how far along? 14 weeks. I'd calculated it. I already knew. But hearing her say it out loud, I've been home 3 weeks, I said, voice flat. I was deployed for 18 months before that. So, unless we're looking at the longest pregnancy in medical history, that baby isn't mine. Her face crumpled, not with shame, with something that looked almost like relief, like she was tired of lying. It's Kyle's, she said. There it was, the confirmation, the thing Sophie had been protecting me from, the truth I'd spent 18 months not knowing while I told myself I was protecting our country. How long? I asked. 15 months. It started, Jim, you were never here. You were always deployed, always at the office, always choosing the army over us. I was lonely. Kyle paid attention to me. He made me feel, don't. My voice came out harder than I meant it. Don't make this about me not being here. You had choices. You chose this. Rachel's hand went to that bracelet again, the rose gold one with the cross charm. I heard it jingling, that distinctive sound. Where'd you get the bracelet? I asked. She froze. Where'd you get it, Rachel? You gave it to me for our anniversary. No, I said. I didn't. I gave you a necklace, sapphire pendant. You're wearing it right now. Her hand flew to her throat. The necklace was there. She hadn't even realized she was wearing both, the gift from me and the gift from him. He gave you the bracelet, I said. She didn't deny it, just sat there, caught. I pulled out my wedding ring, platinum band, Covenant 2007 engraved inside, set it on the table next to the pregnancy test. We need to talk about what happens next, I said. divorce, custody arrangements, the baby. Jim, wait. Her voice dropped to a whisper, urgent, almost threatening. Think about your career. Think about the battalion. You're up for brigade commander next year. If this gets out, if there's a scandal, they'll pass you over. You know they will. Rachel, and you just got back from deployment. Everyone knows PTSD is a thing. What if I had to tell people you came back different? Dangerous? What if I had to get a restraining order because I was scared? The air left the room. She was threatening me, my own wife, threatening to destroy my career, my reputation, everything I'd built in 22 years by claiming I was a violent veteran with PTSD. You wouldn't, I said. I would if you forced me into a corner. Jim, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can... A sound from upstairs, a door creaking open, footsteps on the stairs. Sophie had heard everything. I found Sophie sitting on the top step of the staircase, arms wrapped around her knees. She'd heard her mother threaten me, heard the whole thing. I sat next to her, didn't say anything. Just sat there in the dark hallway at 1 a.m, listening to the house settle around us. Are you going to be okay? She finally asked. I don't know, baby, but we will be. You and me. We'll be okay. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I wrote you letters every week. Did you read them? Every single one. Mom barely read the letters you sent us. She'd open them, glance at them, put them aside, but I read all of yours. Multiple times. I saved them all. I went to my study. 2 a.m. The house was quiet. Rachel had gone upstairs, door closed, probably calling Kyle. Sophie was in her room. I opened my duffel bag and pulled out the stack of 47 letters. The rubber band left impressions on the top and bottom envelopes. Each one was different. Lined notebook paper, construction paper, a few on nice stationery she must have bought special. The envelopes had crayon drawings, stick figures holding hands, American flags, hearts. I held them close. They still smelled like her strawberry lotion, that same scent she'd worn since she was 12. Some of the later letters had tear stains, the ink slightly blurred where drops had fallen. I opened the first letter, her handwriting round and careful. Dear Daddy, I miss you so much. Mom says you're protecting us. I made the honor roll again. Tennis tryouts are next week. I hope you're safe. I'm so proud of you. Love, Sophie. I opened another one from the middle of the deployment. Dear Daddy, it's Christmas. I wish you were here. I got you a present, but I'll save it for when you come home. Mom's been busy with FRG stuff. That's not really true, Dad, but I didn't know how to tell you. I love you. Please stay safe. The last letter, 3 weeks ago, different handwriting, shakier, urgent. Dear Daddy, please come home soon. Things are bad here. I need you. I'm scared to say more in case someone else reads this. Please be safe and hurry home. I love you so much. Sophie. 47 letters. One every single week for 18 months. While I told myself I was protecting our country, she was crying for help, and I was 7,000 miles away. I read them all that night, every single one. By the time I finished, the sun was starting to come up through my study window. I could hear birds outside, the base starting to wake up. I'd spent 22 years in the Army, 3 deployments, dozens of missions. I'd earned a Bronze Star for courage in combat, but I'd missed the most important battle, the one happening in my own home. While I was protecting everyone else's children, my daughter was protecting me. I was in my battalion office by 0600, hadn't slept, didn't matter. I had work to do. Captain Emily Rodriguez knocked on my door at 0730. She's my executive officer, 32, sharp as they come, been with the battalion for 2 years. She was in full uniform, but her face looked tired, like she'd been up all night too. Sir, do you have a minute? Come in, Emily. Close the door. She sat down across from my desk, didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at me with this expression that was half professional concern, half personal sympathy. The rumors are already spreading, she said quietly. Base this size, word travels fast. I know. Sir, I need to show you something. It's not good. She pulled out a folder. Computer printouts, base security logs. The kind that track every time someone scans a contractor badge to access different areas on post. Kyle Brennan's access records for the past 15 months, she said. She spread them out on my desk, columns of dates, times, locations. yellow highlighter marking specific entries. I scanned the pages. My eye caught the pattern immediately. "These are housing area accesses," I said. "During duty hours, he shouldn't have been in married personnel housing during the middle of the day." "I know." Emily's voice was tight. "I cross-referenced them with the FRG meeting dates, the ones Mrs. Carter was supposed to be attending." She pulled out the FRG roster I'd seen last night, put it next to the security logs. The dates lined up perfectly. Every time Rachel had supposedly been at an FRG meeting, Kyle Brennan's badge had scanned into our housing area. "They match," I said. "Every single time, sir." I stared at the papers. Evidence, black and white, times, dates, locations, the kind of proof that would hold up in any court. "There's something else," Emily said. She looked uncomfortable now, really uncomfortable. "Sir, Kyle Brennan's fiancée came to see me yesterday. Her name was Beth Morrison, 39 years old, military spouse. Her husband was deployed with the 82nd Airborne. She showed up at Emily's office the day before I got home, which meant she'd been carrying this information, waiting for me to return. Emily arranged for us to meet in a conference room, official setting, witness present, everything by the book. Beth was blonde, thin, looked like she hadn't slept in days. She was holding a plastic Ziploc bag, the kind you use for evidence. Something small was inside it. "Colonel Carter," she said when I walked in. "Thank you for seeing me." "Ma'am?" I sat down across from her. Emily stood by the door. "Captain Rodriguez said you have information. I found something in Kyle's car 3 days ago." Her voice was shaking. "I was looking for... It doesn't matter why, but I found this." She slid the plastic bag across the table. Inside was a rose gold bracelet, delicate chain, a small cross charm hanging from it. I knew that bracelet. I'd heard it jingling last night when Rachel fidgeted with it at dinner. "That's my wife's," I said. "I know. I saw her wearing it at the commissary last month. The cross charm is distinctive. Kyle told me he bought it for me, for our anniversary. But when I confronted him about finding it in his car, he couldn't explain it." Beth's hands were clasped tight on the table. Her knuckles were white. "Mrs. Morrison," I said gently, "how long have you known?" "About your wife?" 2 weeks, but Colonel Carter..." She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "You're the fourth family." The room went cold. "What?" "3 other women have come forward, 3 other military wives. Kyle has been doing this for years. He targets wives while their husbands are deployed. Your wife..." Her voice broke. "Your wife isn't special to him. She was just mark number 4. Emily stepped forward. "Sir, I've been quietly investigating. The other 3 women are willing to testify. Kyle Brennan has a pattern. He calls it his deployment special. Targets lonely military spouses, promises them attention, then moves on when the husband comes home." I sat back in my chair. Felt like I'd been hit with a flashbang grenade. The affair was bad enough. But this was predatory, systematic. Rachel hadn't been seduced. She'd been targeted. "Does my wife know?" I asked. "About the pattern?" Beth shook her head. "I don't think so. I think she genuinely believed she was special to him, that they were in love. That's what he does, makes them believe it." I looked at the bracelet in the plastic bag, that rose gold chain, that little cross charm that jingled when Rachel moved her wrist. "Thank you for coming forward," I said. "This took courage." "My husband is deployed right now," Beth said quietly, 15 months downrange, and Kyle tried with me too, Colonel, 6 months ago. I said no, but not everyone can. Not everyone has the strength when they're lonely and scared and their husband is in a war zone." She stood up. "I'm sorry this happened to you, and to your daughter. Emily told me she knew. That's the part that..." Her voice cracked. "These men put their lives on the line, and we're supposed to be their safe place to come home to. Kyle destroys that. I'm done letting him." After she left, Emily and I sat in silence. "Sir," Emily finally said, "what do you want to do?" "I want to talk to my son," I said. "He's coming home today." Jake showed up at 1700 hours. I heard his truck pull up, that diesel engine he was so proud of. He came through the door with his duffel bag, looking tired from the drive from Raleigh. "Dad," he dropped the bag and gave me a hug. "Man, it's good to see you. Are you okay?" "Living room, we need to talk." His smile faded. "What's wrong?" "Sit down, son." I told him everything. The text message, Sophie's evidence, the pregnancy, Kyle Brennan, Beth Morrison, all of it. I watched his face go through the same progression mine had. Shock, disbelief, anger, and then something else. Something I didn't expect. Defensiveness. Dad, are you sure? I mean, Mom's been really stressed. You've been gone a lot. Jake, no, hear me out. You've been deployed for 18 months. Before that, you were at the office 80 hours a week. Every birthday I had growing up, you were either deployed or at some training exercise. Mom was alone. Your mother made a choice, I said, voice harder than I meant it. She chose to have an affair. She chose to get pregnant with another man's baby. Those are her choices. But you created the situation. Jake stood up, pacing now. You worked 80-hour weeks my entire childhood. Every game, every recital, every graduation. You were either gone or sitting in the back row on your phone. Mom filled that hole with someone who actually showed up. The words hit like a gut punch. On the mantel behind Jake, I could see my bronze star in its presentation case. Blue velvet. Red, white, and blue ribbon. Symbol of courage under fire. Right next to it, my grandfather's pocket watch. Gold case, white face, Roman numerals. I could hear it ticking from across the room, that loud mechanical rhythm. You're right, I said quietly. Jake stopped pacing. What? You're right. I was gone. I chose the army over being present. I watched my own father die in service when I was 15, and I thought the answer was to serve harder, to protect everyone, to provide for you and Sophie and your mother. I gave you everything except what you actually needed. I stood up. Me? I didn't give you me. Jake's anger crumbled, his eyes filled with tears. But Jake, I continued, being absent doesn't excuse betrayal. Both things can be true. I failed as a father, and your mother still made her choice. She could have divorced me. She could have demanded I change. She could have done a lot of things. She chose an affair instead. If you were Jim, 22 years in the Army, deployed for half your kids' childhoods, would you accept that you're partly responsible for creating the hole Rachel filled? Type responsible. Or hold her fully accountable for her own choices regardless? Type accountable. What would you do? The truth? Both can be true. I was absent, and Rachel still made her choice. But standing in that living room, watching my son's face, I'm not pursuing brigade commander, I said. Jake looked up. What? The promotion, next year. I'm not taking it. I'm done choosing career over family. I can't undo 18 years, Jake. But I can start now. I'm choosing you and Sophie. My son finally cried, really cried, the way he hadn't since he was a little boy. I wanted you to be proud of me, I said. I thought providing and protecting was enough. I was wrong. I am proud of you, Dad, Jake said through tears. But I needed you. We all needed you. We stood there in the living room, the afternoon sun coming through the windows, my grandfather's watch ticking loud in the silence, and I held my son while he cried for the father who'd been gone too long. I didn't know Sophie had been hurting herself until I found her on her bedroom floor. It was 2200 hours. Jake and I had talked for hours. He'd gone to see his mother. Wanted to hear her side. Needed to process. I went to check on Sophie before bed. Her door was closed, no light underneath. But I heard something. A sound like crying, but muffled. Wrong? Sophie? No answer. I opened the door. She was sitting on the floor by her desk, her sketchbook open in front of her. The latest drawing, a self-portrait but fragmented. Pieces of her face scattered across the page, dark charcoal smudges, everything broken. And her arms. Sophie, baby, what did you do? There were cuts, fresh ones, not deep but deliberate. A razor blade on the floor next to her. She looked up at me, face pale, eyes hollow. I couldn't keep it inside anymore, Dad. I couldn't. It's been eating me alive for months, watching her lie to your face every day. Sitting at that dinner table, pretending we were a happy family, I stopped being able to eat. I stopped being able to sleep. And then you came home, and I thought telling you would make it better, but it just made it worse. I dropped to my knees next to her, grabbed her sketchbook, closed it, picked up the razor blade, threw it in the trash. We're going to the hospital, I said. Dad, no, I'm fine. Sophie, now. The emergency room at Womack Army Medical Center was bright, too bright, Fluorescent lights, white walls, that antiseptic smell that makes everything feel sterile and wrong. They took Sophie back immediately. Self-harm, potential suicide risk. The triage nurse's face when she saw Sophie's arms. I'd seen that look before. Combat medics wear it when things are bad. I sat in the waiting room for 20 minutes before a doctor came out. Dr. Lisa Thompson, base psychiatrist. I knew her from mandatory post-deployment evaluations. "Colonel Carter," she said, "your daughter is stable. We're admitting her overnight for observation." "Observation? Sir." Her voice was gentle but firm. "Your daughter has been cutting herself for months. This wasn't an isolated incident. Based on what she told the intake nurse, this was a suicide attempt." The world tilted. "She left a note," Dr. Thompson continued. "On her phone. It was in her drafts folder. She wrote it 3 hours ago." "What did it say?" "I can't share the exact contents without her permission. But, Colonel, she's been in crisis for a long time. She's been protecting you while simultaneously destroying herself. That's an impossible burden for a 15-year-old. They let me see her after they'd bandaged her arms and gotten her settled in a room. She was in a hospital bed, wearing a gown, looking so small under the white sheets. I sat in the chair next to her bed. Sergeant Major Frank Williams was standing guard outside. He'd shown up somehow, probably Emily called him, making sure we had privacy. Sophie wouldn't look at me. "Baby," I said. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Daddy." "For what?" "For not being strong enough. I tried to protect you. I collected all that evidence because I thought, if I could just prove it to you when you got home, if I could just hold it together until you were safe. But I wasn't strong enough. I watched her lie to your face every day and I couldn't eat anymore because I felt sick every time we sat at that table pretending." I reached over and took her hand, the one without the IV. "Sophie, you are the strongest person I know." "I'm not. I'm broken." "No." I stood up, unpinned the bronze star from my uniform. The metal was heavy in my palm, solid bronze, that distinctive star shape you could trace with your fingertip. The ribbon smooth against my fingers. I'd worn it on my dress uniform for 2 years. "They gave me this for courage in combat," I said. I sat back down, holding the medal. I thought that was bravery, charging into danger, making hard decisions under fire. But I was wrong, Sophie. I leaned forward, pinned the bronze star to her hospital gown, right over her heart. You, carrying this secret for months to protect me while I was in danger, collecting evidence, holding your family together while your mother tore it apart. That's real courage. This is yours now. You earned it more than I ever did." Sophie looked down at the medal pinned to her gown, touched it gently, and then she broke. Really broke, sobbing the way she probably needed to for months. I held her, let her cry, let her finally let it out. "I wrote you 47 letters," she said through tears, "every week, because I needed you. Because even though you were so far away, you were the only safe person I had. I read them all, baby, every single one. The last one, did you see the last one? Where I said things were bad? I saw it. I wanted to tell you everything in that letter, but I was so scared if I did, you'd worry about me instead of staying focused. And what if you got hurt? What if something happened to you because of me? Nothing would have happened because of you. And even if it did, Sophie, you are more important than any mission. You are more important than anything." We sat there in that hospital room, the machines beeping softly, the fluorescent lights humming, and I finally understood what I'd been protecting all these years. Not my country, not freedom, not democracy, this right here. My daughter's hand in mine, her breath evening out as she finally felt safe enough to rest. I was protecting our country, I'd told myself, for 22 years. But I'd forgotten to protect my home. Colonel Patricia Hughes called me into her office at 0800 the next morning. She's the base commander, 49, tough as nails, been in the Army longer than I have. Her office had an American flag in the corner, photos of her with various generals on the walls. That official feel, that meant this was serious. "Close the door, Jim," she said. I closed it, stood at attention. "Sit down, this isn't that kind of meeting." I sat. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. "How's Sophie?" "Being released this afternoon, mandatory counseling. Dr. Thompson says she'll be okay, but it's going to take time." "Good, that's good." Hughes folded her hands on her desk. "Jim, We need to talk about your family situation and your command. Ma'am, let me finish. Rumors are spreading fast. Contractor having an affair with a battalion commander's wife. Wife pregnant with contractor's baby. Daughter hospitalized. This base has 50,000 people, Jim. Everyone's going to know by end of business today. She pulled out a folder. Inside was a paper program. Folded. American flag on the cover. Veterans Day ceremony. 2 days away. You're the keynote speaker, she said. 5,000 people attending, local media coverage, half the state's congressional delegation, and you're going to stand up there and talk about honor and service while your personal life is imploding. She set the program on the desk between us. So, I need to know, Jim, what are you going to say? I looked at the program, my name printed there. Keynote speaker, LTC James Carter, 2 days, 48 hours, 5,000 faces watching me, waiting for me to tell them what service means, what sacrifice means, what honor means. And I didn't have an answer. I don't know, ma'am, I said honestly. Hughes nodded slowly. Then you better figure it out. Because in 2 days, you're either going to lie to 5,000 people about having your life together, or you're going to tell them the truth. And Jim, she leaned forward. The truth is harder, but it's the only thing that's going to save your command. She stood up. You're dismissed. Go be with your daughter. And Jim, whatever you decide to say up there, make sure it's real. I left her office with the ceremony program in my hand. Paper program, cardstock, that fold crease sharp under my fingers. 2 days. What was I going to say? I spent the next 48 hours writing, rewriting, crossing out, starting over. The original speech was already written. I'd drafted it weeks ago before I came home. It was about duty, honor, sacrifice, the standard stuff. I hate divorce, that passage from Malachi. Marriage is covenant, staying faithful even when it's hard. I stared at those words on the yellow legal pad. Blue ink, crossed out passages, coffee stains on the edges. Every word felt like a lie now. Sophie came home from the hospital on a Thursday afternoon. Mandatory therapy twice a week. Dr. Thompson wanted her on a safety plan. Jake stayed home from NC State for the week, sleeping in his old room, helping with his sister. Rachel moved into the guest room. We didn't talk except about logistics, Sophie's appointments, Jake's schedule, the impending divorce that neither of us had officially filed yet, but we both knew was coming. Friday morning, Jake found me in my study at 0500. I'd been up all night, the ceremony program open on my desk, my grandfather's pocket watch ticking loud in the silence. Dad, Jake said from the doorway, you should sleep. Can't. Speech is in 4 hours. He came in, sat in the chair across from my desk, looked at the yellow legal pad covered in my handwriting. What are you going to say? The truth, I said. I don't know. Colonel Hughes said I have 2 choices. Lie to 5,000 people or tell them the truth. And the truth is harder, but it's the only thing that's going to work. Jake picked up the pocket watch from my desk. Gold case, white face, Roman numerals, that loud mechanical ticking. Grandpa's watch, he said. He gave it to my father. My father gave it to me. It survived 3 generations. What's it teach you? I looked at him. That time is the only thing you can't buy back. I bought you everything, Jake. Private school, ROTC scholarship, this house. But I didn't give you time. This watch has been ticking my whole life, marking every minute I chose something else over you and Sophie. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Dad, I'm not re-enrolling in ROTC. My chest tightened. Jake, let me finish. I'm not dropping out because of you. I'm not punishing you. I'm dropping out because I want to choose my own path. Not follow your footsteps because I think that's what you want. Not become a soldier because that's the family tradition. I want to figure out what I actually want. For me. I looked at my son, 19 years old, looking more like a man than I'd realized. What do you want? I asked. I don't know yet, but I want the chance to find out. Is that okay? I stood up, walked around the desk, handed him the pocket watch. This is yours now, I said. Not because you're following in anyone's footsteps, because I want you to remember. Don't make my mistake. Don't let this watch tick away on things that don't matter. Time with the people you love. That's what matters. Everything else is just noise. Jake looked at the watch in his hands, closed his fingers around it. "You're going to be okay, Dad," he said. "Whatever you say up there today, just be honest. That's all anyone can ask." Veterans Day Ceremony, November 11th. 11 o'clock in the morning. The parade ground at Fort Liberty was packed. 5,000 people, maybe more. Soldiers in dress uniform, veterans wearing their old service caps, medals pinned to civilian jackets, families with kids holding little American flags, the congressional delegation sitting in the front row with Colonel Hughes, media cameras set up on the side, local news, military press. This would be recorded, uploaded, shared. I stood backstage, if you could call it that, really just a tent behind the podium. Sergeant Major Frank Williams was with me, adjusting my uniform, making sure everything was straight. "You ready, sir?" he asked. "No," he smiled. "Good. Means you're taking it seriously." I could hear the crowd through the tent fabric, talking, laughing, chairs scraping. The color guard was doing their presentation, national anthem playing through the speakers. My hands were shaking. I looked down at my uniform. The Bronze Star was gone, pinned to Sophie's hospital gown 2 days ago. But there was a small indentation in the fabric where it had been. You could still see the outline if you looked close. "Frank," I said, "I'm about to end my career up there." "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe you're about to save it. Either way, sir, those soldiers out there need to hear this. Real leadership isn't pretending you have it all together. It's showing them what integrity looks like when it costs you everything." The chaplain finished his invocation. Colonel Hughes was at the podium now, introducing me. "Ezi, 22 years of distinguished service. 3 combat deployments. Bronze Star recipient. Please welcome Lieutenant Colonel James Carter." Applause. I walked out onto the stage, 5,000 faces looking at me. Sophie was in the front row, right next to Colonel Hughes's seat. Jake sat beside her. Emily Rodriguez was 3 rows back with the battalion staff. Beth Morrison was there too, sitting with the other military spouses. Rachel wasn't there. I stood at the podium. The microphone was cold under my fingers. I looked down at my prepared speech, the one I'd written weeks ago, about duty and honor and sacrifice. I folded it up, put it in my pocket. "Good morning," I said. My voice echoed across the parade ground through the speakers. "I'm supposed to talk to you today about service, about what it means to wear this uniform, about the sacrifices we make for our country." I paused, looked at Sophie. She was crying already, but she nodded at me. "Go on, Dad." For 22 years, I told myself a story. I was protecting our country. I was serving something bigger than myself. I was making the hard choices so my family could live in safety and freedom. And all of that was true. My hands gripped the podium. But it wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth is that while I was protecting everyone else's children, I forgot to protect my own. While I was deployed, my 15-year-old daughter was dealing with a family crisis I didn't even know existed. She carried secrets for months to keep me safe. She wrote me 47 letters, one every single week for 18 months, because she needed her father, and I was 7,000 miles away. The crowd was silent now. You could hear the wind moving through the trees at the edge of the parade ground. I came home 3 weeks ago to find out my marriage was over, that my wife had been unfaithful, that my daughter had been hurting herself trying to hold our family together. And you know what my first thought was? How do I cover this up? How do I protect my career? How do I make sure this doesn't affect my promotion prospects? I could see some officers in the crowd shifting uncomfortably. This wasn't the speech they expected. But my daughter is in the hospital right now. Well, she was until yesterday, because she tried to carry a burden no 15-year-old should have to carry alone. And I realized something. I've spent my entire career teaching you about honor and service and sacrifice. But I forgot the most important lesson. I looked at Sophie again. She was holding Jake's hand now, both of them watching me. Real service requires both, serving your country and being present for your family. I thought I had to choose. I thought providing for them and protecting the nation was enough. But my kids didn't need a hero. They needed a father. They needed me to show up, to be present, to choose them, not just once in a while, but every single day. My voice cracked. I didn't try to hide it. I was protecting our country. That part was true, but I forgot to protect my home. I forgot that the people we're fighting for, they're not abstract concepts. They're our kids, our families, the people sitting at our dinner table. And if we lose them while we're out saving everyone else, what have we really accomplished? I took a breath, steadied myself. Real service requires both. It requires integrity even when it costs you everything. It requires telling the truth even when it's humiliating. It requires choosing the people who depend on you, not just the mission in front of you. I looked out at the crowd, at all those soldiers, young privates who hadn't deployed yet, seasoned NCOs who'd been downrange a dozen times, officers who were making the same choices I'd made. Some of you are going to deploy. Some of you are deployed right now and watching this later, and I want you to know, your service matters. Your sacrifice is real, but please, please don't make my mistake. Don't tell yourself that providing is the same as being present. Don't let your family become collateral damage of your career. Your kids need you, not your paycheck, not your rank. You. The silence was absolute now. I don't know what's going to happen to my career after this speech. Maybe I'll be relieved of command. Maybe I'll lose my promotion. Maybe telling you all this truth was the stupidest thing I've ever done. I looked at Sophie one more time. She was crying, but she was smiling too, proud. But my daughter needed to see that integrity means telling the truth even when it destroys you, even when it costs you everything. Because that's what honor actually is. Not the medals, not the promotions, not the perfect image. Honor is choosing what's right even when it's hard. I stepped back from the podium. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. And thank you for listening to an old soldier finally tell you the truth. The silence lasted for what felt like forever. And then Sergeant Major Frank Williams stood up, at attention. Then Captain Emily Rodriguez stood. Then the entire battalion staff. Row by row, the soldiers in the crowd stood up, at attention. Not applauding, something more than applause. Standing in respect. Standing with me. Even some of the veterans, old men in their 80s, World War II and Korea on their caps, they stood too, slowly, with canes and walkers, standing for truth. I saluted them. They saluted back. And I walked off that stage knowing I'd either just saved my career or ended it. But either way, I'd finally told the truth. The divorce papers were filed Monday morning. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, adultery is still a violation. Fault grounds? Rachel didn't contest it. She couldn't. The evidence was overwhelming. Kyle Brennan was terminated immediately. His contractor ID badge confiscated, banned from every military installation in the country. Beth Morrison and the 3 other military wives filed official complaints. His company dropped him. Last I heard, he couldn't find work anywhere in the defense industry. Word travels fast. Predators get blacklisted. Rachel had 60 days to vacate base housing, military regulations. When you divorce a service member, you lose housing rights. She moved into an apartment in Fayetteville. We worked out custody arrangements for the baby. I'd ensure child support. Sophie wanted to maintain a relationship with her half-sibling, eventually, after therapy, after time. We'd figure it out. The military housing lease sat in a folder in my study. Standard government form, official seals, both our signatures from 20 years ago. That document represented a life I'd built, a family I'd tried to protect, a covenant I thought was unbreakable. Sometimes the covenant breaks, and you have to choose what to save from the wreckage. Jake stayed home for 2 weeks, officially withdrew from ROTC, started looking at different colleges, different programs, engineering maybe, or teaching. He didn't know yet, but he was figuring it out. Sophie started intensive therapy. Twice a week turned into 3 times. Dr. Thompson said she was making progress. The cutting stopped. The eating resumed, slowly. She was drawing again. Not dark fragments, but whole images. Trees, horizons, futures. Colonel Hughes called me into her office the Wednesday after Veterans Day. "Jim," she said, "I'm not relieving you of command." I'd been expecting the opposite. "Ma'am, that speech, you know how many views it has online? 2 million. 3 million by tomorrow. You're trending on every military forum. Reddit's losing their minds. People are calling you the most honest officer they've ever heard." She pulled out a stack of papers, letters, emails, printed messages. From soldiers, she said, from their families, from veterans who've been out for 40 years. They're all saying the same thing. Thank you for telling the truth. Thank you for admitting you're human. Thank you for showing us what integrity really looks like. She set the stack on her desk. You're not getting brigade commander, she said. That ship sailed, but you're keeping your battalion. Your soldiers respect you more now than they did before, because you showed them something real. Thank you, ma'am. Don't thank me. Thank your daughter. She saved your life. Don't forget that. I wouldn't. I couldn't. 2 weeks later, Sophie and I planted a tree. Base memorial garden. Small ceremony. Just family and a few close friends. Sergeant Major Frank Williams, Captain Emily Rodriguez, Beth Morrison, Jake, Dr. Thompson came too. The tree was young, maybe 6 feet tall, thin trunk, branches just starting to spread. A dogwood. Sophie picked it because dogwoods bloom in spring. New growth, new life. We dug the hole together. Base grounds crew had marked the spot, but Sophie wanted to actually plant it ourselves. Dirt under our fingernails, physical work, something real. This is good soil, I said, breaking up a clod with my hands. Dad, you sound like Grandpa, Sophie said. She was smiling, actually smiling. Your grandpa used to say you can tell everything about a place by its dirt. Good dirt grows good things. We settled the tree into the hole. Sophie held it straight while I packed the soil around the roots. Her hands on the trunk, my hands in the earth. Both of us working together. When it was secure, Sophie pulled out her sketchbook. The same brown leather-bound one, but the pages were different now. She'd drawn the tree. Detailed, beautiful. Roots spreading underground, branches reaching up. Leaves unfurling. I wanted to draw it before we planted it, she said, so I'd remember this moment. She closed the sketchbook, tucked it under her arm. I pulled the bronze star from my pocket, the medal I'd pinned to her hospital gown 2 weeks ago. She'd given it back to me, said it belonged to me. I'd refused. We'd compromised. I'd keep it until we had a proper place for it. This was that place. I hung the medal on the lowest branch of the young tree, the ribbon draped over the wood, the bronze star catching the late afternoon sun. Not as a monument to war, not as a symbol of my achievement, as a promise. What's it mean? Sophie asked quietly. It means courage isn't just charging into battle. It's planting trees. It's telling the truth. It's showing up every single day for the people who need you. Jake walked over. He was holding something. My grandfather's pocket watch. I'd given it to him 2 weeks ago. Dad, he said, I think this should stay here too. Jake, that's yours now. I know, but I want to put it here, not forever, just for today. To remember that time matters. That being present is the whole point. He hung the watch on another branch. Gold case, white face, Roman numerals. That loud mechanical ticking. You could hear it from 3 feet away, marking time, marking moments, marking presence. Sophie's hand found mine. Small fingers in my bigger ones. Both of us standing there, looking at this young tree with a bronze star and a pocket watch hanging from its branches. Home is where I deploy from, I'd said for 22 years. This base, this house, this location. But I'd been wrong. Home isn't where you deploy from. Home is who you deploy back to. Home is Sophie's hand in mine. Home is Jake standing next to us. Home is being present, not just providing. Home is choosing the people you love over and over and over, every single day. You know what's funny? Sophie said, looking up at the tree. Trees don't grow fast. This one's going to take years to get big, but we planted it together, both of us, and that's what matters. Both of us present, I said, both of us home. The sun was setting over Fort Liberty. You could hear the evening bugle call in the distance. Retreat, the lowering of the flag, the end of the duty day. Soldiers heading home to their families. Kids playing on the playground across the field. Life continuing, moving forward, growing like this young tree. Frank Williams stepped forward. Sir, if I may. He pulled out a small plaque, brass engraved. He set it in the ground at the base of the tree. I read it. In honor of those who serve both country and family. Planted by LTC James Carter and daughter Sophie Carter. November 2025. Home is who you deploy back to. Sophie started crying. Good tears this time, healing tears. Thank you, Frank, I said. 28 years I've served with you, sir. That speech you gave, that's the best leadership I've ever seen. Because you showed everyone that being human isn't weakness, it's strength. The small group gathered around the tree. Beth Morrison placed a stone at the base, a tradition, something to mark that we'd been here. Emily Rodriguez brought flowers from the commissary. Jake added another, a small American flag, the kind kids wave at parades. Sophie and I stood there as the sun set, our hands together on the young trunk of this tree we'd planted. Jim and Sophie redefined what home means. Not where you deploy from, but who you deploy back to. Not blood, but presence. If you've built your own chosen family, the people who showed up when it mattered, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear those stories. And if this one moved you, if you stayed for all 62 minutes, subscribe. I tell stories about integrity when it costs everything. Real stories, hard stories, stories that matter. I'll see you in the next one. The tree would grow slowly, years to get big, decades to reach its full height. But we'd planted it together, Sophie and I, father and daughter, both present, both home. And in the spring, it would bloom, white flowers, new life, promise of growth. Evidence that even broken things can heal if you give them time and care and presence. I looked at my daughter, 15 years old, bandages still on her arms from where she'd hurt herself, but healing, growing, becoming the strong woman she was always meant to be. I'm proud of you, baby, I said. I'm proud of you too, Dad. We stood there until the sun fully set, until the bugle call faded, until the bass grew quiet around us. Just a father and daughter and a young tree, roots taking hold in good soil, branches reaching toward the sky, both of us finally home.